Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
I done grew around some people living their life in bottles. Granddaddy had the golden flask, backstroke every day in Chicago. Some people like the way it feels, some people want to kill their sorrow. Some people want to fit in with the popular, that was my problem. I was in a dark room, loud tunes, looking to make a vow soon that I'ma get fucked up, filling up my cup. I see the crowd mood changing by the minute, and the record on repeat. Took a sip, then another sip, then somebody said to me, nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
Okay, now open your mind up and listen to me, Kendrick. I'm in your conscience. If you do not hear me, then you will be history, Kendrick. I know that you're nauseous right now, and I'm hoping to lead you to victory, Kendrick.
If I take another one down, I'ma drown in some poison, abusing my limit. I think that I'm feeling the vibe. I see the love in her eyes. I see the feeling of freedom is granted as soon as the damage of vodka arrives. This how you capitalize. This is parental advice. And apparently, I'm over influenced by what you are doing. I thought I was doing the most, and someone said to me, nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, may watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
I ride, you ride, bang. 1 chopper, 100 shots, bang. Hop out, do you, bang. 2 chopper, 200 shots, bang. I ride, you ride, bang. 1 chopper, 100 shots, bang. Hop out, do you, bang. 2 chopper, 200 shots, bang. Nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
How could you leave so unexpected? We waited for you, but you just left us. We needed you, I needed you.
Yo, I don't know what it's like to be addicted to pills, but I do know what it's like to be a witness to kills. Mama told me she loved me, I'm thinking this isn't real. I think of you when I get a whiff of that cigarette smell, yeah. Welcome to the bottom of hell. They say pain is a prison, let me out of my cell. You say you proud of me, but you don't know me that well. Sit in my room, tears running down my face and I yell into my pillowcases. Say you coming to get us, then call a minute later just to tell us you're not. I'm humiliated. I'm in a room with a parent that I don't barely know. Some lady in the corner watching us while she's taking notes. I don't get it, mom. Don't you wanna watch your babies grow? I guess pills are more important. All you have to say is no, but you won't do it, will you? You gon' keep popping till them pills kill I got this picture in my room and it kills me. But I don't need a picture of my mom, I need the real thing. Now a relationship is something we won't ever have. But why do I feel like I lost something that I never had? You should have been there when I graduated. Told me you love me and congratulations. Instead you left us at the window waiting. Where you at, mom? What you young to understand? Where you at, huh? Yeah, I know them drugs that got you held captive. I can see it in your eyes, they got your mind captured. Some say it's fun to get the high, but I am not laughing. And what you don't realize and what you're not grasping, that I was nothing but a kid who couldn't understand it. I ain't gonna say that I forgive you cause it hasn't happened. I thought that maybe I'd feel better as time passes. If you really cared for me, then where you at then? Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Our last conversation, you and I sat in the living room talking about my music, and I brought you something to listen to. You started crying, telling me this isn't you. A couple weeks later, guess you were singing a different tune. You took them pills for the last time, didn't you? They took you from us once, I guess they came back to finish you. Crying my eyes out in the studio is difficult. Music is the only place that I can go to speak to you. It took everything inside of me not to scream at your funeral. Sitting in my chair, that person talking was pitiful. I wish you were here, mama, but every time I picture you, all I feel is pain. I hate the way I remember you. They found you on the floor. I could tell you felt hollow. Gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. You gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. Don't know if you hear me or not, but if you're still watching, why? Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Sometimes I think about sometimes I think about things like, you know, when I have kids and you won't be there, you know, you won't be there for any of that. I'll never get to see you again. Sometimes I wish I would have just called you. I wish I would have just picked up the phone. But you were here. I mean, you should have been there for us. You should have been here. Pills got you right. And pills got you right. I wish you were here.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
Now I done grew around some people living their life in bottles. Granddaddy had the golden flask, backstroke every day in Chicago. Some people like the way it feels, some people want to kill their sorrow, some people want to fit in with the popular. That was my problem. I was in a dark room, loud tunes, looking to make a vow soon that I'ma get fucked up, filling up my cup. I see the crowd mood changing by the minute, and the record on repeat. Took a sip, then another sip, then somebody said to me, nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
Okay, now open your mind up and listen to me, Kendrick. I'm in your conscience. If you do not hear me, then you will be history, Kendrick. I know that you're nauseous right now, and I'm hoping to lead you to victory, Kendrick.
If I take another one down, I'ma drown in some poison, abusing my limit. I think that I'm feeling the vibe. I see the love in her eyes. I see the feeling of freedom is granted as soon as the damage of vodka arrived. This how you capitalize. This is parental advice. And apparently, I'm over influenced by what you are doing. I thought I was doing the most, and someone said to me, nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
I ride, you ride, bang. 1 chopper, 100 shots, bang. Hop out, do you, bang. 2 chopper, 200 shots, bang. I ride, you ride, bang. 1 chopper, 100 shots, bang. Hop out, do you, bang. 2 chopper, 200 shots, bang. Nigga, why you babysitting? Only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to turn it up a notch. First you get a swimming pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. Pool full of liquor, then you dive in it. I wave a few bottles, then I watch them all fly. All the girls wanna play, they watch. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and they dive in it. Pool full of liquor, I'ma dive in it.
Pull up, headshot, sit down, stand up, pass out, wake up, fade it, fade it.
How could you leave so unexpected? We waited for you, but you just left us. We needed you, I needed you.
Yo, I don't know what it's like to be addicted to pills, but I do know what it's like to be a witness to kills. Mama told me she loved me. I'm thinking this isn't real. I think of you when I get a whiff of that cigarette smell, yeah. Welcome to the bottom of hell. They say pain is a prison. Let me out of my cell. You say you proud of me, but you don't know me that well. Sit in my room, tears running down my face, and I yell into my pillowcases. Say you coming to get us, then call a minute later just to tell us you're not. I'm humiliated. I'm in a room with a parent that I don't barely know. Some lady in the corner watching us while she's taking notes. I don't get it, mom. Don't you wanna watch your babies grow? I guess pills are more important. All you have to say is no, but you won't do it, will you? You gon' keep popping till them pills kill you. I got this picture in my room and it kills me. But I don't need a picture of my mom, I need the real thing. Now a relationship is something we won't ever have. But why do I feel like I lost something that I never had? You should have been there when I graduated. Told me you love me and congratulations. Instead you left us at the window waiting. Where you at, mom? What you young to understand? Where you at, huh? Yeah, I know them drugs that got you held captive. I can see it in your eyes, they got your mind captured. Some say it's fun to get the high, but I am not laughing. And what you don't realize and what you're not grasping, that I was nothing but a kid who couldn't understand it. I ain't gonna say that I forgive you cause it hasn't happened. I thought that maybe I'd feel better as time passes. If you really cared for me, then where you at then? Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Our last conversation, you and I sat in the living room talking about my music, and I brought you something to listen to. You started crying, telling me this isn't you. A couple weeks later, guess you were singing a different tune. You took them pills for the last time, didn't you? They took you from us once, I guess they came back to finish you. Crying my eyes out in the studio is difficult. Music is the only place that I can go to speak to you. It took everything inside of me not to scream at your funeral. Sitting in my chair, that person talking was pitiful. I wish you were here, mama, but every time I picture you, all I feel is pain. I hate the way I remember you. They found you on the floor. I could tell you felt hollow. Gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. You gave everything you had, plus your life to them pill bottles. Don't know if you hear me or not, but if you're still watching, why? Why would you leave us? Why would you leave us? How could you leave us? How could you leave us? Why would you leave us? Sometimes I think about sometimes I think about things like, you know, when I have kids and you won't be there, you know, you won't be there for any of that. I'll never get to see you again. Sometimes I wish I would have just called you. I wish I would have just picked up the phone. But you were here. I mean, you should have been there for us. You should have been here. The pills got you right. And pills got you right. I wish you were here.
Sometimes I think pain is just a lack of understanding. If we could only understand it all, would we feel no pain? Would we feel no pain? Would we feel no pain? God must feel no pain.
Good evening and welcome. We would like to remind you that smoking, eating, or drinking in the theater is not allowed. Please turn off all cell phones, alarms, pagers, and other noise-making devices. You may not photograph or video record the performance. Thank you for coming. We hope you enjoy the show.
Opioid use is becoming more and more prevalent. Research shows that more users are starting as adolescents and teens, while non-medical use by young adults, 18 to 25, is the highest among all age groups. They don't have pain, just access to drugs. Unfortunately, fentanyl and carfentanil are being used in a number of street drugs. These synthetic opioids are part of what has escalated the death rate. You need 2 to 3 times the amount of reversal agent that you would normally need to save someone from overdose because the drugs are so strong.
Thank you all for having me here today. It is an honor to be asked to present to you. I hope that what I share with you will be of use to all of you. What I want to speak on today is the grip of opioids and its effect on our community. For years, we have been watching our nation grapple with the impact of opioids and the damage that it has caused to our society. Lives are being dramatically changed. Too many lost daily due to overdose. Local, state, national agencies trying to raise awareness and point out the issue. We are in the throes of a momentous struggle. There have been questions on what the response should be. The drug war causing a criminal justice issue with high incarceration rates, but is that the type of solution that will bring about change? What is the recidivism that comes from that response? And what does that mean for the future of those who have been locked up behind bars? And how are they supposed to live a life outside of prison that doesn't include relapse? Well, we have seen legislation like the Strengthened Opioids Misuse Prevention Act, or the STOP Act, which seeks to reduce the amount of opioid supplies circulating around North Carolina. They also seek to reduce doctor shopping, which is where addicts will change doctors to get new prescriptions. They also put provisions in place to push prescribers to use available tools and resources to prevent and to avoid inappropriate prescribing. Then there is the Synthetic Opioid Control Act, which takes action at traffickers, more specifically traffickers of fentanyl. They also made any derivatives of the drug a controlled substance under state law. Before then, there was nothing illegal about bringing in ingredients for synthetic opioids. Then there is the Heroin and Opioid Prevention and Enforcement Act. The HOPE Act, as it is also called, provides law enforcement with increased tools for addressing the issue. They also point out the intentions for funding treatment. See, there are efforts to keep low-level drug offenses outside of court. There is emphasis to the recovery process, and there are new agencies willing to do the work and put in the effort, and they know that it would take an ongoing amount of work to make all that happen. You know, it is said that 5 years of care and checkups are ideal to avoiding relapse. That means we will need the correct amount of funding for the staff to make that happen, especially given the amounts of abuse we have been seeing as of late. We also need to have an honest conversation about the medical system. In the 2000s, drug abusers will start with prescription drugs. This is drastically different than 40 years prior. The CDC issued new guidelines for prescribing opioids for people with chronic pain. This is after the DEA completed the largest prescription drug bust in the country after a long operation investigating healthcare facilities dispersing large amounts of opioids. We have to do some deep interrogation. We have to look at Purdue Pharma pleading guilty for misleading advertising, marketing Oxycontin as a safer pain pill. We have to look at CVS putting in new restraints for pill prescriptions. We have to look at the U.S. Surgeon General seeing an issue so tragic that an advisory had to be put in for naloxone. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a decade since the last advisory has been put in. We have to spend some time in the mirror. Whenever we hear anything about drugs in our country, we instantly think about marginalized communities. We see them as havens for tragedy and the source of the drug. We don't look at the suburbs. We don't think about the impact that these drugs has on rural communities. We have to look and realize that bias means that black people get less prescription and treatment for the same pain, that the supply and the availability for their prescription in black communities are often lower, and the obstacles to get them are often higher. Then we hear myths such as black people having thicker skin than white people and less sensitive nervous systems. And a fascination with the black body has contributed to this. A failure to see the humanity in all of us has contributed to this. Racist comments like black people being civilized and savages has contributed to this. It has been such a pervasive ignorance that it is said that even white students today, in this day and age, hold misguided beliefs about black physiology. This isn't a problem that sees color. We just so happen to be a society that does, or pretends not to, then wonder why we have inadequate solutions. We have to have some uncomfortable moments. Some may say, where was all of this when the crack epidemic was ravaging the communities during the 80s and 90s? I'd say we can argue that all day, but what we can agree on is how it feels to lose generations to an enemy we've been racing to catch up to. We know how far the collateral damage can go. We know how long the residue can last. We know pop culture played a role then. We know social media is playing a role now as we speak. But we've got to battle the reality of what these drugs are doing while also battling and struggling with the perception of what these drugs are. Sometimes the chickens come home to roost. Morphine was introduced as a battlefield anesthetic during the Civil War. Then heroin was introduced to people addicted to morphine because it was believed to be less habit-forming. They were wrong. It gets banned. Pandora's box was opened. Then in the 70s, the Controlled Substance Act was put in place to identify drugs based on their likelihood of getting abused. This also influenced law enforcement's response. We are still unraveling cases and sentencing and arrests linked to substances and the communities affected by it. This has changed the scope dramatically. The drugs don't care who you are, people. The addiction comes quick. Withdrawal is intense. The high is elusive, and the temptation is too powerful. The hold is strong, and the people we are losing look too much like most of us and not some of us. It's scary. We have to become more aware. It's time to dig in. It's time to figure out how to save our community, how to save our young folks, how to save our families, how to protect ourselves. The epidemic is here, and the consequences are too dire. We have to be ready to win, ladies and gentlemen. We have to win. Thank you.
could still be what you want to, what you said you were when I met you. You've got a warm heart, you've got a beautiful brain, but it's disintegrating. From all the medicine, from all the medicine, from all the medicine, medicine. You could still be what you want to be, what you said you were when you met me.
Jamal Dinkins is a generational talent. His addition to the team will shake up a culture that seems to have gotten complacent with just being good. His energy and hunger will be infectious. He wants to be great. Dinkins will have to fight for time on the field with some talented upperclassmen already here. But I don't see them being able to keep him waiting for long. This kid is the real deal.
This has been a great season for State. They have real bowl aspirations and currently ranked 5th in the country, have their destiny in their own hands. Part of that is because of the breakout play of Dickens. He came here as a heralded freshman, and now in his junior season, the Heisman hopeful is the engine of one of the most potent college offenses in the country.
What a play by Dinkins to hold on to the ball after that hit. He made a great move to get extra yards and secure that first down, plus some. Hold up. Dinkins isn't getting up. He's hurt. Trainers are coming onto the field. Oh no. You hate to see that. This is a terrible development for State.
More than 460,000 NCAA student athletes compete in 24 sports annually. Between the 2009, 2010, and 2014 through 15 seasons, there were a total of 3,183 severe injuries, with 30% of them resulting in surgery. These numbers are alarming considering how often opioids are prescribed for pain. In 2013, a national study showed that nearly 2,000 of these athletes admitted both medical and non-medical use of opioids. The 2017 NCAA Student Athlete Substance Use Survey did show a significant decrease in the use of narcotic pain medication with a prescription for medical and non-medical reasons. Still, there is more work to be done to decrease the dangers of abuse amongst athletes. Alternative solutions to pain management such as non-medical treatment, physical therapy, dietary changes, and exercise are being explored. Jamal Dickens, former standout football player at State, has been arrested again. This time, he was caught on camera breaking into an area sneaker boutique. He was found by police shortly thereafter. This is the third time that the star athlete has been arrested in the past 18 months. He is currently also facing charges of public indecency and possession of a controlled substance.
Beats, the producer.
Rapper Young Bangs was rushed to the hospital last night. He was experiencing seizures and had trouble breathing after a concert in Laguna Beach. He is currently in a coma. The rapper is best known for his viral hit, We Up. No more additional information at this time.
believe me. One day you'll see me. Believe me. Please don't say you need me. Release me. Believe me. One day you'll see me. Believe me. You'll leave me.
Opioid use is becoming more and more prevalent. Research shows that more users are starting as adolescents and teens, while non-medical use by young adults, 18 to 25, is the highest among all age groups. They don't have pain, just access to drugs. Unfortunately, fentanyl and carfentanil are being used in a number of street drugs. These synthetic opioids are part of what has escalated the death rate. You need 2 to 3 times the amount of reversal agent that you would normally need to save someone from overdose because the drugs are so strong.
A reduction in stigma is important. We choose to talk about those suffering from addiction, not addicts. Changing our perspective aids the success in addressing substance abuse disorder. This has an impact on research, harm reduction, and treatment. This is an issue that requires ongoing attention. There are calls for crackdowns on companies distributing drugs, greater restrictions on prescribing opioids, more awareness of the use of naloxone and buprenorphine, increased resources dedicated to understanding chronic pain, deeper resources, and realistic expectations of the process of recovery. If we look up for guidance from those working day in and day out on this issue, we can come to better grasp the scope of the problem and how we can beat it.
Synthetic drugs like fentanyl and carfentanil are at least 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. Illegally made fentanyl has driven much of an increase in overdoses seen across the country in recent years. It can come across in various colors and forms: liquids, pills, crystals, powder, laced in marijuana, and more, and can be used in different ways. It has a powerful effect and is highly addictive. It is also extremely deadly both to the users and to the responders.
The National Institute of Health is taking an important step in chronic pain management. They have begun the Helping to End Addiction Long-Term Initiative, also known as the HEAL Initiative. This project supports clinical trials and the expansion of programs looking at therapies for pain. This offers new opportunities for better understanding chronic pain and establishing alternatives to opioid treatment. This research will be so critical to providing the kind of guidance we needed to provide relief that doesn't open the door to addiction. This groundbreaking initiative will definitely open the door for other research to be done across the country. The results will have lasting impacts.
Dr. Wanda and Earl Boone. For years, they've supported these ethnodramas way back when we did Touch of Sugar, Still in Clouds. And so we've addressed a number of issues. Now, as a part of the ethnodrama experience, we'd like for panelists to come up. There's a few people who work in the area of substance use disorder that we'd like to come up so that the audience will have an opportunity to ask questions. Okay? So those individuals, I can hardly see. We usually have, well, we got microphones. I don't know if these work. At the end of the panel, if you could complete the poll survey and turn it in out front, we truly would appreciate it. Let me get one, we got another chair. Ways that we're able to move the needle on addiction is that we have to ask questions. So if you have questions for the audience, please feel free to ask. Also, clearly understand that they can't give medical advice. Medical advice you should get from your doctor. But what they can do is give you their experience around substance use disorder. So we're going to start here first. If you could introduce yourself and where you're from.
Sure. Charniqua Austin Kennedy. My pronouns are she, her, and I currently serve as director of the Counseling Center at North Carolina Central University.
My name is Chris Cole. I'm a resident at TROSA.
And I'm Rebecca Graves, and I'm the operations director at TROSA.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Hurd. I am a student at Central, and unfortunately, my mother passed away from fentanyl overdose this year. So let's talk about my experience.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wanda Boone. My husband Earl and I founded Together for Resilient Youth. We are a prevention organization, and we've seen decreases in youth opioid use from 15% to 12% to 9%. So we're happy about that. That was a little much, sorry.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm George Clyett. We started the first drug program perhaps in North Carolina, here in North Carolina Central Campus, Help House, 1970. I'm a returning Vietnam veteran. I now teach at Central and work with the Parent Support Network, parent training program.
All right, so we'd like some we had a question over here. Ethnodramas. After the movie Soul Food came out, the movie that came out in the 1990s, we saw an increase in joints in screening for diabetes. And so we started calling it edutainment. And one of the ways that we can increase knowledge and change behavior around cancer, diabetes, heart disease, sexually transmitted diseases, and addiction was to use theater to educate people. So this is an ethnodrama experience. Any other questions? Well, I will start it off since everyone is shy. What do parents need to know? Because we've been hearing a lot about this new rainbow fentanyl. What do parents need to know in terms of the behavior of their child that would give them some idea that something's going on in terms of opioid use? What are the signs, symptoms we need to look for?
So, first of all, I will say that any change in behavior is something that a parent should think about. And it doesn't start with drug use. It starts with the stress that a child might be under. And so the conversations that you have with your children on a regular basis, and hopefully that's happening, making sure that the conversations that you have are more than do your homework, get your chores done, and then don't use drugs. I mean, it doesn't work like that. So in the midst of all the conversations that you have as parents, you need to make sure that one of those things has to do with opioids and other substances. So what do you look for? Any change in behavior. Don't let your child just go to their room and close the door, even though that may be an easier thing to do, especially with a teenager. No, you need to draw them out, make sure that they are not isolating themselves, and then have loving, ongoing conversations with your children so that they stay connected to you.
Okay. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think one of the most important things we can do, and I understand Ms. Boone is in prevention, we got to look at prevention. All the money is going into treatment, you know, millions of dollars. I mean, drug is a big industry. The police make money, the judges, the probation officers, multi-million dollars. Okay. Pharmaceutical, multi-million dollars. Drug supply, multi-million dollars. Treatment, multi-million dollars. So we have all these things we're contending with. So if it's too late at that point. Your child's out there, it's too late, you know. As soon as that child is born, even before that child's conceived, you have to connect with that child and understand that child's important, you know, provide all the protection, you know, that you can provide, you see. So we need to reorientate ourselves in terms of what's important and what's not important. And perhaps I have 5 children. I was there when most of them were born, you know. I lost my son. I mean, it's a very difficult task. You lost your mama, certainly it's nothing more devastating than that. So we have to value our children. They have to be valued. They have to be protected. So we need to reorientate ourselves in terms of what's important and what's not important. You know, we have our value systems, they're whack. You know, we need to go back. The most important thing is your child. You know, if you're married, it's your wife. If you're married, it's your husband, your family. Most important thing, you see. And we can see that this was devalued from day one. As African Americans, we first landed here, 6 things were taken away from us: our time, our energy, our kinship. That child was taken from the mother's womb. Our identity, our space and our time. We got to reclaim those things. Until we do that, we're still going to be dehumanized. And people often, our communities were important. I grew up we had the Triangle Line. This is St. Joseph's Church, a very vital part of Durham. The church, the home, hillside, and the family. The Triangle Alliance was there. It's been severed. We got to reconnect that. Very vital. Our community. Highway 140, I've been here 61 years. Highway 147, divided. Look at crack, what they did, stigmatize the black community. So we have so many things we have to deal with, and if I put them in order, family, community, and of course God. God should be first. You know? So we need to put those things back into their priority, not let other people dictate, not Netflix, Hulu, TV, dictate what's important and what's not important. Axiologically, the most important thing you have is your child, your family, your mother, your father, sisters, your brothers, and each other. You know. So we can go on and on to the break of dawn, but those things have to be reiterated, reestablished. If we're going to overcome this, we got to come together. We came here for civil rights movement. This is St. Joseph. We came here and we shall overcome. We got hyped up and went downtown. Talk too much?
No.
I'm gonna stop. Did that answer your question? Okay, maybe not.
The other question I'd ask rappers and stuff now, but we know something's going on in that room. How do we know with this fentanyl, besides the isolation, what are some of the other symptoms that parents should be looking for?
So, I know I didn't jump on the stage. My name is Shanti. I actually work in the methadone clinic. I didn't want to jump up there.
Come on.
I didn't want to go up there because I only been there like 6 months. But from what I have seen, most of the clients that were the patients that pretty much come in my office, that I do the psychosocial assessment on when they first come in. Their skin is very clammy, their pupils are like real small, or they're very agitated. What else I see? They are like nauseated. They can't sleep. What else? They can't eat. Their appetite, loss of appetite. A lot of IV users I get. That's pretty much I see.
Okay, you said nausea, loss of appetite, irritability, clammy skin, dilated pupils.
And then a lot of times their association, you'll see that their whole association has changed. Like people that they used to be with young people, they pretty much isolate themselves from their family. So one of the things that we do is to work with parents that have lost children due to overdose, family members. And according to them, they had no idea. Part of the reason that they had no idea is because sometimes their child went away to college, and we think that that's a time that we can pull away from our children because we've raised them to that point. But what happens when they get on campus is that 25% of young people that never used alcohol start using alcohol during freshman year. And so that's not a time to pull away. We have to think of them as kindergarteners again, where sending them off to school was painful. And we have to remember to stay in touch. They get to be around other people that you don't know. And if in your home situation, you need to ask, who are you with, where are you going, and then call other parents and find out if they have the same values that you do. And if they don't, no, you can't go. And so we have to remember that the pull of social media and everything else pulls at the attention of our children, and we have to pay attention to that. I'm going to give the microphone up after this one thing, and that is put the oxygen mask on yourself before helping others. Adverse childhood experiences, those 10 things that can happen before someone's 18th birthday, those traumas, and I won't go into all of that. But if a parent isn't healed, or the adults that surround our children are not healed from their own trauma, then they may be the cause of hurt and stress in their children. And so take the time to take care of yourself and don't react to your children out of your pain.
Other questions? Got a question back here? drugs. He used the analogy of Joe Camel back in the 80s, 90s, let's say 70s, must have been old. Back in the 80s, where it was like a cartoon. It's like they were deliberately marketing toward young people with the Joe Camel commercial. And he's indicating that he sees the same thing now with that of companies pushing anxiety and depression medicine, but it's showing cartoons, and it's almost like it's playing itself out again. How do we prevent ourselves from internalizing that, our children from internalizing it?
I would go back to what Ms. Boone said about having these conversations at home, because I think if you're having those conversations at home, those are going to be more impactful, and that is going to, kind of mold the values that you have in your household, where that are going to be stronger than a commercial. So I think it'll go back to your everyday interactions and conversations.
So I can't necessarily answer the question on how we can prevent, that, but I think that as someone, I'm 21, as someone who is a young person and knowing what we see on the TV, what we listen to in music, it is very easy to be pulled into the worldly atmosphere. It's so incredibly hard to not be engaged in activities when you come on campus and you see, all my friends are going to parties, I need to join, I want to go, get lit with my friends. But in reality, we're just going down deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper the hole. And it's really hard to climb out of once you're in there. And so, yes, all these advertisements, they are very, very effective. They're affecting us. They're affecting how we, going back to what you said, when we're at home, we're raised a certain way. You're expected to be God-fearing and go out and shine your light into the world. But as soon as from my experience, as soon as I hit freshman year, I'm a senior now. As soon as I hit freshman year, it was like, oh, I'm free. I can do whatever I want. I can go party. I can drink. I can do whatever I want. But in reality, it's just not. It's not the best thing. It's sad because I wish that I did have a little bit more structure when I left the house. I don't think necessarily, I wouldn't say I was completely ready to leave. And so it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard trying to navigate how to protect your children from seeing things like that because, even on Disney Channel nowadays, we're looking at different influences that probably aren't the best thing for your children to be seeing at the moment, but it's there. Your kids are going to go to school, they're going to talk to their peers, and they're going to find out information that you're necessarily not going to want to give them. So I think it's just being vigilant and making sure that in your household and the people, like you were saying, the people that your children interact with are people that you would want them to. So, yeah. Yeah.
You go first.
I would say the conversations extend beyond parents because the reality is when you talk about college-age students, they're adults legally. And so that conversation has to be open and honest from the parent perspective. And I'm saying this as both a therapist and a parent of a college-age student. But it also has to be those open and honest conversations with other trusted people that you have around you and that your adult child may have interactions with, in addition to knowing who their friends are. While there may be an increase of commercials that are advertising different medications that address depression and anxiety, the reality is it helps to normalize the conversation because too often people don't feel comfortable letting someone know when they're not okay, and what they receive is judgment or some dismissiveness about what they're experiencing. And so seeing those commercials is a great opportunity to have those conversations, but it only shows part of the picture. Medication by itself is usually not the sole solution to how you lessen some of those depression and anxiety symptoms. The other part of that is the supports you have around you, as well as looking at therapeutic support that may be a part of that conversation too.
So Together for Resilient Youth is a coalition, free, and we have members from all walks of life. So we have a youth coalition, young adults, parents, schools, so everybody comes together because we can't solve this issue just in one single way of thinking. So when I talk to young people, one of the things that they really don't like is for somebody to tell them what to do. And so when we talk about commercials and ads and those kinds of things, I say, well, what's happening here? They're trying to tell me what to do. And so, well, what are you going to do about that? Do you want them to tell you what to do? Or are you going to make up your own mind, because you know they have their own mind? And so in that way, it's a way to help them understand who's playing them, whether it's the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry, the opioids, the brownies, the edibles, the whatever it is. And so when we allow young people, I'm talking about adolescents whose brains do not fully develop until they're 25, which is why they come back home, then when we allow them to be free thinking based on what really is happening, then they kind of make up their own minds that they're not going to do what everybody tells them to do when it's the wrong thing. I knew you wanted this microphone.
I think we hit on a critical point. Dr. Livingston and I are very good friends, and a major part of our conversation is our grandmothers. And you could tell someone who listened to their grandmother and who didn't, very readily. You know, if you didn't listen to your grandmother, chances are you're gonna get in trouble. If you listen to your grandmother and you value that conversation, then that's going to serve as a prophylactic. It's going to serve as an anchor, you know. So I think one thing that has to happen, and this is a prescription, when you say it has to happen, we have to, again, create that connectivity with your child. It starts in utero. It starts when the baby's in the developmental process. And that process has to continue, you know. And I can go on and on because, you know, but I think listening to your grandmother, listening to your parents, I think that's a critical part. So we have to go back and try to rejuvenate, revamp that relationship and bring about some type of process where your children listen to you. And I think to that extent, that's a starting point, you know.
And I had another question. This comes from the audience last night, and someone had brought this issue up. At TROSA, when we came by for the information settings, in that fentanyl was in everything, and that a person does not know that they're getting fentanyl, even if they're getting a prescription drug, even if it's getting marijuana. Somebody even said it was in cocaine. I mean, it's just like, what do we tell our kids who may be casual weed smokers, or they want to take a Percocet or Oxy or something like that? I mean, what do we do?
Other than telling them it's illegal. Go ahead.
So in my mother's situation, she passed away from marijuana laced with fentanyl. And I'll tell you, it's everywhere. And my biggest thing, and it's mostly, the reason why I'm up here is for my fellow students over here. The actors and the people I know who I'm in courses with and I see on a day-to-day basis. We have so many people on campus. We know it. We all know it's a huge campus. A lot of people smoke. It's terrifying knowing that there's so many options, so many places people can go and get things. You don't know what's being put in you don't know. You just never know. And it's very terrifying, and I'm kind of just really scared for fellow classmates and fellow students of Central because it's a thing. It's a huge thing here. And I just wanted to let that be known that marijuana laced with fentanyl, even though you don't think it's a thing, it's a thing. It's a real thing, and you really gotta be careful out here in these streets.
But do students Carolina students know way more than Central students.
So I was here last night, also, at Central last night, and a woman in the audience asked what she could do if a friend was using drugs. And of course, I go home and I'm rethinking and replaying the questions and the answers. And I wish I had said, and I didn't, I wish I had said that she should get Narcan and fentanyl strips for her friend. Because the North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition is a great organization. It's in Raleigh, and they will give you Narcan and fentanyl strips where you can test your drugs to see if it contains fentanyl. And they have these things available. So that's a great thing to hook a friend up with if you're to save a life. Yeah.
So here in Durham, naloxone Narcan is free of charge at the health department. You don't have to sign anything. You don't have to say why you want it. In my opinion, everyone needs to carry naloxone. If a person is unconscious and it's not because of an opioid overdose, it won't hurt them. Naloxone only binds with the opioid, so you don't have to worry about that. But everyone, it's free of charge at our health department. Fentanyl strips work with liquids. It doesn't work with dry marijuana, so that's something that is a concern. So really, it's playing Russian roulette to use anything. Durham is the only county in North Carolina that has more overdoses among black people than white people. The only county in North Carolina. And most of that is because of fentanyl. So naloxone, carry it around, make sure you have it. However, if someone is overdosing because of fentanyl, then I heard that it takes 2 to 3 doses of naloxone, but it's really 4 to 6. So just make sure that naloxone is available.
And also, I would like someone to talk to people about the administration procedure of Narcan. And when you find someone who's passed out, what is the procedure?
Okay, before we move on, I think that in addition to those things, certainly don't shoot alone. Don't shoot alone. Don't shoot drugs alone. That's one thing. If possible, have a safe shooting gallery, a place where you can go and you have those supports already there. Okay. The strips, certainly you want to detect that because fentanyl is 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine. So it has to be done. It crosses the blood-brain barrier so readily, you know. And see, that's the thing. The thing that attracts people to that is that rush. You get that rush. You know, a lot of people, African Americans, they come back. They were former heroin users. They heard someone overdose. That's attractive. But they're still trying to seek that first high, you know. And many of the people who died, if you look at statistics, first we had the pharmacological thing, and then what happened, the drug cartels bought in, they put heroin back on the streets, free, pure heroin. So people start snorting, you see. And then about midway between 1999 and 2022, they hit us with the fentanyl. The thing about the fentanyl, drug administration, it's not under control. Now what's going to happen, God forbid, trick or treat, fentanyl color. Actually, fentanyl is colorless, tasteless, you see. But they're making all colors. That's going to be very attractive to young kids. Now, God forbid that a young child dies. And I think at that point, we're going to get serious about this thing. As long as it's happening over here, over there, Joe Blow, Mary Sue, you know, people who may be considered not important, but once it begins to devastate your little Johnny, your little Mary, And that's when it's going to become a very serious issue. It's coming. I mean, the thing about it, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It could be manufactured right in the kitchen, right in the kitchen, right in St. Joseph. You see, and like you said, it's odorless, colorless, and those type of things. I think you want to answer this, but certainly it's a protocol you need to develop for fentanyl, and I think we need to make contact with Durham Police. We need emergency medical services. These are people we need to contact and make sure that they're on board and they know how to treat this. That the police, instead of moving toward a criminal type of thing, they should move toward a more supportive type thing. And then the third thing, the law school need to get involved with drug courts. So those are things I just want to put out there. We need to do the attack the same on all fronts, you know.
What Dr. Myers is looking like candy. It comes in rainbow forms, and it's beginning to look like candy now, like Skittles and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And so as we move toward Halloween, it's imperative that we are mindful as our kids are out there in the streets.
All right, I just want to say a couple things about the administration of the Narcan. You can get it in nasal spray form, or you can get it injectable, depending on how big the person is and how strong the fentanyl is. Usually, that's the way to go. I recommend one in the nose, one in the leg, because it works on both. Oh, I'm sorry. From what I found, that nasal or injectable work. A lot of times people I've come across, I've been an addict for 23 years, so I've had to use both most of the time. But it's always around, and the reason why I come from this area, from Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and Cumberland County does a pretty good job with the needle exchange actually delivering, because addicts are not always going to be able to come to the place where you're giving them the resources. But if you bring the resources to them, not only will they take everything that you give them, which is contraceptive, clean needles, they're going to use anyway. But you might as well have them with safe equipment, because they're more apt to turn the old needles in so they can get cleanly disposed of. They're not going to throw them in your trash or your parks. They're going to, needle change is also going to deliver naloxone, Narcan, things like that, to where they're more apt to be around where people are going to be using drugs instead of them having to go get it. You know what I mean? That just helps. It does help.
So providing the clean utensils and things
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a big difference. You'd be surprised on how helpful it is.
I'll say the nasal naloxone is almost like using Flonase or something. It's really pretty simple to use. And then they do have an injectable that is like, the diabetic pens. So they're not like a syringe needle. You can get a syringe needle, but you can also get like an EpiPen. So it's really user friendly.
Also, when it comes to asking for help, if a needle exchange comes to your house twice a week or to the area you're in multiple times a week, and you get to know that person that is providing that help, they're more apt to ask them for help than their own family members or a complete stranger. So you're going to build that trust with that person and that familiarity where they're more apt, because if they know the resources they can offer, but that person's got to be at its complete worst to ask for help. A drug addict, you've been a drug addict for quite a long time, it's very hard for you to ask for help. You're going to have to be in pretty bad shape.
So after the first administration of Narcan nasally, if the person does not wake up, what do we do then?
Keep shooting.
Give them another one and dump some cold water.
4 or 5 times.
So you just keep giving it to them
until they gasp for air, because their lips are going to turn blue. They're going to be blue. They're going to be.
So you're saying that if their lips are turning blue, you continue with the nasal spray?
Yeah, nasal spray, the leg, do a little CPR if you know CPR, dump some cold water on them too.
911.
Oh yeah, that too.
What was that, Dr.?
It depends. Most people aren't, a lot of times they're not going to call 911.
If a person is naive when it comes to drugs and wants to know all the different kinds of drugs and things like that, where would you go and suggest me to go to see all the different types of drugs?
Oh, wow. I think there's a safe place.
Well, there's lots of information online about all the different kinds of drugs. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I want to see them.
Yeah.
Online, a lot of times, I heard that they aren't the same as far as sin. And I would like to actually see them.
Right, okay. So there's several different websites that actually have the pictures of the drugs, what they look like, what the common street name is for them. And I'll have to get that for you because my mind is thinking SAMHSA.gov or CDC. And so there are all of those, but I can get that information for you probably when I get to my phone.
We're going to take one more question. Yes.
I'm Dr. George Clyde, North Carolina Central University Psychology Department.
I'm Dr. Wanda Boone, Together for Resilient Youth, which is tryforresilience.org.
My name is Morgan Hurd. I am a student at North Carolina Central, and I'm studying early childhood education, just to put out there.
And I'm Rebecca Graves, and I work at TROSA, and that's trosainc.org.
My name's Chris Cole. I'm an addict. I'm also a resident at TROSA. I've been in the program this time for 11 and a half months. Previously, I've been in the program as well.
I'm Charnigua Austin Kennedy. My pronouns are she, her, and I currently serve as director of the University Counseling Center at North Carolina Central, where we also have a collegiate recovery program for students who are interested in learning about harm reduction, as well as students who may be in recovery or who are serving as allies for friends and family members.
Awesome. Well, folks, give our panel an A. Thank you for coming out this evening. We plan to do this again in February, so encourage folks to come out. Let's inform people, let's educate people, and let's change the world, folks. Thank you for coming out. Like when a person's out, you shoot it in their nose, they don't get up, you shoot again.
Just keep going.
Just keep going until they get up.
Until 911 shows up.
Well, the thing
They
is,
call 911. That's what they say, call 911.
but for fentanyl, it takes more than just what you may have available, which is why you want to get them to the emergency room. And I'll tell you how disparities work in this. My nephew had just begun his recovery, right? And so in the apartment complex that he lived in, he lived with people who were addicted to drugs. And so, just try this one more time. So they all did fentanyl-laced marijuana together. He's the only black young man among 7. So naloxone was given to the white young people over and over and over again, and he got 1 dose. He ended up in the hospital in an induced coma for a week, right, as they tried to titrate him down. So that's why I'm saying, and I'm not trying to be, well, no, I'm telling the truth. So we have to make sure that this is in New Jersey.
Who gave the shot?
EMS, 1 dose. And so we have to take accountability, and we have to do what we need to do in order to save our people.
Why would they put it in
All
weed,
people,
though?
but our people, because of the disparity.
What do you mean by why?
Yeah, why? I mean, what would they put it in weed for?
Why not?